All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, I want to say all of you thank you for your tremendous support. People are slowly but surely finding out about who we are and what we do. They enjoy and respect the passion with which we speak. But as we always say here at Chin Check Sports Radio, we do this because we love it, as we are simply sharing our passions with you all as we continue to build our listening army to take over the world. Before we get started, I want to send a happy Father's Day to all the dads, uncles, big brothers, mentors, stepfathers, grandfathers, any male who serves as a father figure in a young person's life. Definitely happy Father's Day to you all. Now, before you say, well, Chin Check, why are we hearing a happy Father's Day and we're listening to this broadcast the day after? Trust me, we recorded the broadcast, but we didn't get a chance to release it until the following day. If you notice the link that I sent some of you, or some of you clicked on it and saw the thumbnail, this is going to be the Chin Check Sports Radio Mount Rushmore on topics that we quite frankly like. And we definitely want to do this for a while now. It's going to be a very lighthearted broadcast, but in common, I don't want to say common talk and common conversation, when you always hear about somebody's Mount Rushmore, that is their top four in any particular sport, field, chosen profession, and it's a very hard decision to make, and people tend to take offense to it when somebody is not in somebody's Mount Rushmore or top four, or the people who they believe that are the best of the best. But a little bit about Mount Rushmore. It's in South Dakota, for those of you who don't know, and that's probably the only time we would ever visit South Dakota to see Mount Rushmore. Ironically, it's named after a New York lawyer named Charles Rushmore. And of course, there's a bit of a dark history with the actual mountain because it was stolen from the Sioux Indians. But present day, you have the 60-foot head carving of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln, all former presidents, with George Washington representing the founding of the nation. Thomas Jefferson, he represents the expansion of the nation. You have Theodore Roosevelt, who represents the preserving of our nation and the conservation of the nation, and Abraham Lincoln as a unifier or preserving the nation through the Civil War. So, but now when people talk about Mount Rushmore, especially in the world of professional sports, of course we are a sports program, it's always your top four of all time. And what we did, we looked at the top four of certain sports genre of what we grew up watching. So we're going to step a little bit outside of our comfort zone in talking about sports. Yes, we talk about hard topics involving pro sports. We're going to venture a little bit out of it to cover some very fun topics. And this is one of those broadcasts. Feel free to let us know what you think. It is a fun broadcast. It is meant to be a thought-provoking broadcast, however, in a very fun way. We don't expect you to agree with our Mount Rushmore, but this is what we want. And also, when people, and as we stated before, when people create their Mount Rushmores, there seems to be, instead of just accepting what the person stated, now it's meant to be a slight for people who didn't make the Mount Rushmores. We have been sitting on this broadcast for a very long time, but it's a very hard topic because we had to list names and cut certain names out and go back and forth with certain names to see who makes the Mount Rushmore. But that's the fun part about these lists, where you have to make a hard decision. It could rub people the wrong way, but it's in no slight any disrespect to people who didn't make the Mount Rushmore, because that doesn't mean that a person still wasn't a fan, or they didn't respect the person's work and art or their contributions to that particular field or genre. It's just that they just didn't make that particular cut, but doesn't mean that they were a fan. So we're all adults here. We like who we like, as well as you all, and you might not have somebody on your Mount Rushmore that we might have, and that's okay. There's no diss to anybody. There's no argument. It's a fun discussion had amongst different fans. So we're going to start, believe it or not, before we get to the sports world, we're going to start in the entertainment. And let's go with our actors. The Chin Check Sports Radio, Mount Rushmore of Hollywood actors. And again, and this is in no particular order, Denzel Washington, I think it goes without saying, from Malcolm X to Glory to The Equalizer to Training Day to John Q. Why we chose these particular actors, because these are actors, any movie that they're in, we can pretty much sit down and watch it and know that it's going to be a great movie. So Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, I go back to Pulp Fiction, Die Hard with a Vengeance. I saw that in the theaters as a child. And again, think of all 187, all the Avengers movies. So think of everything that Samuel L. has done, and he is definitely up there on that Mount Rushmore of actors. Tom Hanks, from Forrest Gump to people forget he was funny in the Dragnet movie, to Captain Phillips, to the movie where he was in the airport. I mean, so Tom Hanks, he is that dude. And lastly, Morgan Freeman. How can you not like Morgan Freeman? He is an actor's actor to the point where he even influenced one Samuel L. Jackson. Now, people who just missed the cut on our Mount Rushmore of actors, once again, Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, Tom Hanks, and Morgan Freeman. Guys like Leonardo DiCaprio just missed the cut. Guys like Jack Nicholson just missed the cut. Again, this is what we like. You know, we didn't see the old Jack Nicholson. We saw Jack Nicholson pretty much or really understood who he was playing the Joker in the first Batman movie back in 1989 starring Michael Keaton. So of course we're definitely fans of him, but we never got to watch a lot of his earlier work. But he's definitely a great actor, and there's no slight on him. And we definitely love Leonardo DiCaprio, young guy. I mean, like a younger guy compared to some of the older guys on the list, and he's right there. But those were our top 4 actors. Action movie stars. As a child born in the 1980s, growing up in action movies, of course, that is near and dear to our heart. So, the Chin Check Sports Radio, Mount Rushmore of action movie stars. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Predator, Commando, Terminator. I mean, folks, there's really nothing else to say. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky and Rambo, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Lionheart, Double Impact, Death Warrant. We definitely was a big fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme. And lastly, one Wesley Snipes. Passion 57, and I missed other movies off the top of my head. The Art of War, the U.S. Marshals movie. So Snipes is that guy. Who just missed the cut of the action movie stars would be a Steven Seagal with all of his great movies: Out for Justice, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, great actor, Exit Wounds, and Michael Jai White for action movie stars. Again, no slight to the guys who definitely didn't make the list. Again, we're acknowledging that it is a hard decision to make, but definitely fun nonetheless. Let's go to the music industry here. Our top rappers. This might get a lot of people talking here. Ice Cube. Yes, even growing up in Newark, New Jersey, we were fans of Ice Cube. We definitely listened to his music. So definitely Ice Cube, he is still our guy till this day. Tupac Shakur. Definitely love a Tupac Shakur. You know, definitely considered right up there in terms of greatest rappers of all time. We love Redman. Y'all gonna get mad at us by saying, hey, that sounds like some home cooking. Yes, he's from Newark, New Jersey, like we are from Newark, New Jersey, and he is on our Mount Rushmore list. No slight to, the Jay-Z's. Yes, Jay-Z probably up there in 99.9% of other people's Mount Rushmores, but we happen to have some home cooking for Redman. And this might surprise him. Well, I don't think it surprised a lot of people, but of course, Biggie is up there. But in terms of longer catalog, we have to put Snoop Dogg up there. And I know Biggie's life was cut tragically short. He had some of the 2 greatest albums of all time. But in terms of longevity, we have to throw Snoop Dogg on there. So we're with Ice Cube, Tupac, Redman, and Snoop Dogg. But of course, Biggie, if you can carve another patch of them on the other side of Mount Rushmore, and it's more and that's more due to longevity. So that's the only reason why we definitely put our Snoop Dogg on there, and that is a very hard list. Again, Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, Rakim, DMX. I mean, the talent is just right there. Rap groups. Folks, this was actually very hard to do as well. We're going to go with Public Enemy. I think Public Enemy, besides NWA now, when NWA broke up, we kind of caught the tail end of NWA, really the beginning of Ice Cube's career, so we weren't peak NWA, but we have to go with Public Enemy. We went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They have an entire wing of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The message that he spoke about, getting away from the gang culture, but actually issues affecting black folks. Public Enemy is the truth, and their music still rings till this day. Cypress Hill. Folks who were big fans of Cypress Hill growing up. Again, growing up on the East Coast, hearing these guys, their music, their sound, their classic songs, How Far I Just Kill a Man, Hand on a Pump. We love us some Cypress Hill. We were big Cypress Hill fans. EPMD. We love us some EPMD. And the Wu-Tang Clan. Those were our Mount Rushmores of hip-hop groups, folks. We had to leave out groups like Bone Thugs and Harmony, Tribe Called Quest, Outkast, Ghetto Boys, Mobb Deep, the Fugees, the Locks, the East Siders, so Fu-Schnickens. So, folks, this again, Lords of the Underground. This is no slight to any one of those groups. It's just our Mount Rushmore of people. And of course, do we still listen to everybody we mentioned? Most, yes, absolutely. Let's jump into the National Basketball Association. That definitely gets a lot of people talking here. Okay, don't it? Our Mount Rushmore of NBA players. It is definitely a lot of people talking. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, and Steph Curry. Probably people paused the tape and had to replay it again. We'll do it for you. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Steph Curry. Yes, Steph Curry already. Why is that? When you change the game or revolutionize the game where now everybody's jacking up three-pointers, including 7-footers, where it effectively has neutralized the center position with the exception of the championship win by Nikola Jokic, you have to be up there. Hakeem Olajuwon just misses the cut. We were huge Hakeem Olajuwon fans. He just missed the cut in terms of our Mount Rushmore. Centers, Shaquille O'Neal, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, and David Robinson. Those guys, watching those guys compete, them at their prime, even though Shaq came, he was a little bit younger than them, but to watch Hakeem and Ewing go at it in the finals, to watch Hakeem and David Robinson go at it in the Western Conference Finals, to see a young Shaq and all these guys are Hall of Famers. The only person who doesn't have a ring is Patrick Ewing, and that's really due to the type of talent that he had around him. But yes, in terms of centers that we grew up watching, Shaq, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, and David Robinson. Power forward, very hard. Karl Malone, Tim Duncan, Charles Barkley, and Kevin Garnett. I think people don't realize how great Charles Barkley was. I know we've known him as a studio analyst and him with the big-ass women in San Antonio, but Charles Barkley was a beast. We're talking really 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", holding his own against guys that were at least 4 to 5 inches taller than him. So Charles Barkley was the truth. So power forwards, Karl the Mailman Malone. Some people consider him the greatest power forward of all time in Tim Duncan, Charles Barkley, and Kevin Garnett. Small forward, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Kevin Durant, Scottie Pippen. Paul Pierce just misses that list. Shooting guards, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, rest in power, Clyde Drexler, Klay Thompson. Folks, the people who had to miss out on that list, again, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Clyde Drexler, Klay Thompson. Folks, we had to look past Dwayne Wade, Ray Allen, Manu Ginobili, Joe Dumars, Vince Carter, and Allen Iverson, and Tracy McGrady. And so, folks, that's a lot of people. That's a whole lot of people that we definitely have to look past. Point guard, Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd, Isaiah Thomas, Steph Curry. We had to look past Kevin Johnson, Kyrie Irving, and Gary Payton Sr. That's a lot right there. That's a lot, but hey, those are those very hard decisions. NBA coaches, Steve Kerr, Phil Jackson, Pat Riley, and Greg Popovich. So there you go. So that covers the NBA. Baseball. Now, we're not baseball fans. We pretty much watched baseball in the 90s. So that's kind of where we're coming from, the 90s and early 2000s. Yes, in the yard trying to swing a bat and ball right before the strike, we did watch baseball. Of course, the NFL was still popular, but, baseball was definitely in, especially in that Northeast. So our Mount Rushmore of baseball players: Ken Griffey Jr., Frank the Big Hurt Thomas, Randy Johnson, and yes, Barry Bonds. Yes, it might rub some people the wrong way. Of course, guys like Derek Jeter just missed out. I'm trying to think of some other great players. Again, we're not big baseball guys, but we did watch in the 1990s and maybe the early 2000s. We'll watch baseball now, maybe the playoffs and the World Series. We don't watch it every day, but to us, that's our Mount Rushmore. In the world of mixed martial arts, our Mount Rushmore: Royce Gracie. Folks, the man was a pioneer of this. The reason why we train jiu-jitsu and the reason why jiu-jitsu has exploded like the way it is and is pretty much considered the number one martial art in the world is because of one man, Royce Gracie, and the Gracie family. Anderson Silva, a seemingly unparalleled dominance in the middleweight division that pretty much came out of nowhere. George St. Pierre, another guy who I think often tend to gets overlooked in GOAT discussions. Besides fluky losses, came back and dominated everybody who we fought. And to be honest with you, he really should get a lot more love in terms of pound for pound. You could put him in there in any mythical matchup versus anybody, and he would definitely hold his own. John Bones Jones. Yes, I know, despite drug offenses and suspensions and arrests, but you cannot tell me that this guy cannot hold his own with anybody inside the octagon. I mean, John Jones is the truth. So our MMA Mount Rushmore: Royce Gracie, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, and John Jones. Folks, we had to leave off Dan Severn. We had to leave off Daniel Cormier. We even stated how Daniel Cormier is actually an underrated GOAT in terms of all time mixed martial arts. So this is definitely fun. In the world of professional wrestling, I know Chin Check is like, are you guys serious? Chin Check, are you serious right now with pro wrestling? Yes, absolutely. We are professional wrestling fans. Yes, we are. Our Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers: Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ric Flair, and The Undertaker. Folks, Hulk Hogan, the biggest star in wrestling, it really about childhood. Take all the other stuff away from it, the racist comments, the racist bastard that he is. Take that away. This is just us watching, and we're fans of Hulk Hogan growing up. We have to give the man his props. Stone Cold Steve Austin. From Hulk Hogan was part of our childhood as children to Stone Cold during our high school years, saying what he did. I mean, like, you have to put Stone Cold up there. Ric Flair and The Undertaker with 30 years in the wrestling business and pretty much left out on top. Tag teams. And folks, our Mount Rushmore had to leave out guys like Bret Hart, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Sting, Dusty Rhodes. So again, it's why these lists are very hard. Tag team wrestling. The Road Warriors. Rest in power to the both of them. The Steiner Brothers, Harlem Heat, and the Dudley Boys. Folks, we had to leave out groups like Demolition. Now, the reason why Demolition really didn't make the list, because they clearly were carbon copies or ripoffs of the Road Warriors, and how the WWF at the time treated them once the Legion of Doom came. That's why they tend to get knocked down a pair. We had to leave out the Hart Foundation. That was another great tag team. Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, but the Usos. But we definitely had to put the Road Warriors, the Steiner Brothers, Harlem Heat, and the Dudley Boys as our Mount Rushmore of tag teams in the world of professional wrestling. Let's jump into pro boxing here. Now, pro boxing is a little bit harder because when you start going into divisions and weight classes, guys tend to jump around a whole lot. So the list tends to become repetitive. So we kind of limited our Mount Rushmores to, if you listen to our boxing broadcast about our top 4 fighters of all time, it falls in line. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Bernard Hopkins, Even though Lennox Lewis is ranked number 4 based on what he did, but we're going to swap him out. Law Leonard's going to kill us, even though we had the privilege of meeting Lewis twice. We're going to throw in there Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. Lewis just misses the cut. Now, I'm sorry, Lennox and Lennox fans. For heavyweight, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, Vladimir Klitschko, and Mike Tyson just makes the list. Now, again, other weight classes like welterweight, it's going to be hard because, off the top, you can say Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Shane Mosley, and Oscar De La Hoya. But the problem is these guys came up from lightweight to from super lightweight to junior welterweight to welterweight to junior middleweight. So it becomes very clustered and it can become very confusing trying to put that list together. So we kept it very short from our Mount Rushmore of boxing to even heavyweights, as more people know about the heavyweights. Trainers. We respect boxing trainers. Chin Check Sports Radio, Mount Rushmore of boxing trainers are the late, great Emmanuel Stewart, Freddie Roach, Ronnie Shields, and Lou Duva. Lou Duva tends to get forgotten. Lou Duva was in the corner of Emeldrick Taylor with that heartbreaking loss against Chavez. He trained Evander Holyfield to knock out Buster Douglas. So Lou Duva is that guy. He was that guy in the late 80s and the early 90s. Really had, a great trainer. May he rest in power. Ronnie Shields trained the great Vernon Forrest in his upset wins against Shane Mosley. Freddie Roach speaks for himself. The wonders that he did with Manny Pacquiao and other great fighters, but we think right there, the cream of the crop is a late Emmanuel Stewart. From Thomas Hearns, Michael Moore, Lennox, pretty much made Lennox Lewis, Vladimir Klitschko. It's just, the list goes on and on, so we don't want to take up too much time there. But that's our Mount Rushmore trainers. Emmanuel Stewart, Freddie Roach, Ronnie Shields, and Lou Duva. Takes a little bit away from Eddie Futch and some of the other trainers, but again, it's our list, and that's what we're going to roll with. In the NFL, here we go. This one definitely get a couple of guys talking. Ain't that right, Stansel and D? Our Chin Check Sports Radio, Mount Rushmore of football. Tom Brady, Jerry Rice. The greatest. Some people think that Jerry Rice is the greatest football player of all time. Again, these are people who we grew up watching. We didn't watch Jim Brown, everybody else, and may he rest in power. So we got Emmitt Smith, and we're going with Deion Sanders. So our Mount Rushmore: Tom Brady, Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith, and Deion Sanders. We didn't watch Lawrence Taylor at his best. We have mentioned this before. By the time we started watching football, Lawrence Taylor was on the downside of his career, so we didn't really get to watch the dominance. I'm sure he's probably one of the greatest players of all time, but we didn't really watch him at his peak. The person who just missed the cut, ladies and gentlemen, and you look at me weird for saying this, is Randy Moss. Randy Moss revolutionized the game of football, and his impact is still being felt till this day. Randy Moss is the reason why the cover 2 became so popular, why you have talk, and then, mind you, Randy Moss came to the league in 1998. He's the reason why you have tall cornerbacks now. Tall cornerbacks, 6'1", 6'2", that can run fast and jump high. That's because teams needed to create these players to compete with players of the caliber of a Randy Moss. He just missed the cut. Quarterbacks: Tom Brady, John Elway, Dan Marino, and yes, right now, Patrick Mahomes. Probably the tape that stopped and went, Patrick Mahomes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, already Patrick Mahomes is statistically ahead of all these other quarterbacks. If you look at the numbers, and it's something that we didn't know, we got into a Twitter discussion with a fan, and when he presented that study to us, we were surprised. He is statistically ahead of everybody else. Already 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl wins. I think how many Super Bowl MVPs and how many regular season MVPs, and he's just getting started. Only been a starter 2018-19, only a 5-year starter, and has already accomplished so much. Yes, I know people looking at me crazy. How can you leave out Brett Favre? Because we did. How can you leave out Aaron Rodgers? Because we did. What about Drew Brees? What about Peyton Manning? Because we did. Yes, this kid is already up there. Tom Brady is seen as a GOAT. We grew up watching Elway. We grew up watching Dan Marino, and we love Patrick Mahomes. Yes, he's already on our Mount Rushmore. Wide receivers, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, and Calvin Johnson. Who just missed the cut is Marvin Harrison. Running backs, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Adrian Peterson. Who just missed the cut? Terrell Davis. Tight ends, Shannon Sharp, Big Gronk, Rob Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates. Just missed the cut is Travis Kelce. Our top defensive players, Ray Lewis, Deion Sanders, the late great Reggie White, rest in power, and Ed Reed. In terms of defensive players, our top defensive linemen, Warren Sapp, John Randall, Aaron Donald, and Vince Wilfork. Again, Warren Sapp, John Randall, Aaron Donald, yes, Aaron Donald already, and Big Vince Wilfork. The typical 4-3 defensive ends, the greatest of all time, or our Mount Rushmore. Reggie White, Bruce Smith, Julius Peppers, Charles Haley. Michael Strahan just missed the cut. Middle linebackers, Ray Lewis, Junior Seau, Brian Urlacher, Patrick Willis. Luke Kuechly just misses the cut. The new hybrid outside linebackers / defensive ends, J.J. Watt, Derek Thomas, may he rest in power, Von Miller, and DeMarcus Ware. Safeties, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Rodney Harrison, Brian Dawkins, just missed the cut, John Lynch and Darren Woodson. Linemen, Larry Allen, Jonathan Ogden, Willie Wolf, and Walter Jones. Just missed the cut is Nate Newton. Folks, go watch Nate Newton play during them 90s Cowboys teams. Was anything getting past and around Nate Newton? No, it was not. Cornerbacks, Deion Sanders, Darrelle Revis, Ty Law, Charles Woodson. Richard Sherman just misses the cut. NFL coaches, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, Jimmy Johnson, chin check, that sounds like a little bit of Cowboys bias. Yeah, it could be, but Jimmy Johnson led my team to 2 Super Bowls. Really Barrett Switzer, one of his players, for the 3rd Super Bowl. The Cowboys have not been close since. And Bill Parcells. Yes, we have been critical of Bill Parcells during his time as the Dallas Cowboys coach. However, from what he did with the Giants to winning that Super Bowl, turning around the Patriots to getting them to a Super Bowl, turning around the Jets from 1-15 and 2 years later being in an AFC Championship game, taking a moribund Dallas Cowboy franchise to win 5-11 in 3 straight years, and the very next year getting them to the playoffs, got to the playoffs 2 out of his 4 years there. We give him credit. Of course, we have our issues with some of his decision-making in Dallas that we covered before, but in terms of what he done in his career, we have to give the man his props. Folks, this was a very fun list. Definitely let us know what you think in the comment section. You can reach out to us and let us know what you think at chinchecksportsradio@gmail.com. Once again, chinchecksportsradio@gmail.com. This was a fun list. Definitely let us know what you think. You can hit us up directly or definitely let us know in the comment section. Once again, in the preview, we have not forgotten. Some of you have been getting on us about the preview for the Terrence Crawford and the Errol Spence fight. Folks, that is coming. We definitely want to do it at the right time. So until the next time, it's Chin Check Radio. Signing out.